Hi, welcome to another recipe at theeatingcook.com. Today we're going to cook sundubu, which is Korean tofu. So if you want to take a look here. The main ingredients are actually the tofu broth seasoning. What sundubu is it's in the Korean restaurant, it's in a stone pot and it's served really hot. The other core thing in there is a tofu, and if you want to take a look at this, typically there's about 3 or 4 types of tofu. There's soft, medium, firm, and firm. This one is actually extra soft tofu, and this is what you want. It also comes in a tube sometimes, but in the tube, they use that for the side dishes, and it's not really used for the pot itself. The next thing is enoki. Enoki is another type of mushroom, more of a stringy type mushroom. Mainly comes a lot in Japanese recipes, but Koreans use it also. The next core thing is hot pepper powder. This is something that you use to flavor your dish. So more or less the recipe being used is on the tofu broth seasoning. It says, so basically we're going to open this up and examine the contents of it. So the contents here is you see 3 packets, right? One is per serving. And you see 3, this is chili oil in here. Basically what they said is you're going to have 1 cup of water per serving, so we're going to cook all 3 today. So the first thing you do is get 3 cups of water in a pot, and it's already here. You want to start putting it on high. You want to start putting some boil. For vegetables, you can use anything. I like to use broccoli. This is not really traditional, because if you think about Korean tofu in the restaurant, it mainly has the tofu broth, it has some mushrooms, it has some chilies, it has more varieties of mushrooms than just enoki, but you can add whatever you want really. So first off, we're going to boil this, and after we come back, we're going to prepare the recipe. So welcome back to the sundubu recipe. We're going to finish by preparing the enoki mushroom. If you take a look at this, the enoki has a lot of dirt at the bottom. So you would think, can I eat that? Not really. You want to trim at the part where you can reserve the most mushroom. And if you see, there's still dirt in here. What you have to do is you have to rinse it out in the sink very thoroughly, because you don't want dirt in your soup. You can put it in a strainer, run it through for a little bit. Thing is, the mushroom is very stringy, so it's grouped together. After that, you can let it set for a little bit. We turn back to our water. It's already started to boil. You don't want it to boil too much. We want to bring it to a rolling boil and then bring down the temperature. After that, this is very similar to like ramen. You're just going to open the packets and put it on, all in. Again, a little too hot. So remember, this is 3 servings, so that's 3 cups of water. You always can control the saltiness of the dish by adding water, but the opposite is generally not true. Well, actually, if it's too watery, you probably can boil it off and reduce it a little bit, okay? So now these are the regular packets of seasoning. Next, to get spice, you cut the chili oil open. So this dish is typically prepared and put in a stone pot. I don't think many of us at home actually have a stone pot. So you can just put it in a regular bowl. Also, if you notice, at some Korean restaurants you get purple rice. If you're wondering what that is, that's taro mixed in with the rice. Again, I don't think many people have taro, so you can just use regular white rice. Now this is done, you can increase the temperature. So this is the extra soft tofu that was, I just removed the cap with a knife. I'm just going to place it in. And typically I like a very tofu heavy driven soup. So for 3 servings, I would use 2 packets. Be a little careful, you don't want this to splash all over the place. Remember, when you add the tofu has water. So if you feel like this might be too salty, some of the water will run out of the tofu. Smash it up a little bit. Clean up the workbench. After that, you want to get it back up to a boil. Typically in these dishes you have a couple aspects. First off, you have the soup. So that's your broth, your base. Afterwards, you add the tofu. And the next thing is you have a mushroom, which we have here, a vegetable, and a meat. Pretty easy way to do this. The thing about enoki isn't like button mushroom where you need to cook it in order for it to taste good. This actually just needs to be more or less heated up. So you don't have the intensive couple of minutes of cooking. If you notice, if you eat salads and use button mushrooms, it has a very raw texture. And when you cook it over a frying pan, it takes about 2-3 minutes to make sure it shrinks a lot, but then it tastes a lot better, and it loses that rubbery texture. But for enoki, the cell wall of it, you don't really, it's based more for soups. So you don't have to worry about leaving it there for a long time. After that, you let that, I'm going to get that to boil. And in a little bit, I have a little bit of ground chicken here. This can be anything really. It can be ground pork, ground chicken, ground beef. And you want this to be boiling a little longer. And we just add a dab here. Remember your food safety at this point. Before you eat this, make sure your meat is fully cooked. You don't want to be eating raw meat, serving it to your friends. Fast meals don't necessarily mean you need to go to the restaurant quickly also. Last but not least is a little bit of broccoli. Not very traditional in this dish. The thing about broccoli is when you boil steam this, it loses a lot of its nutritional value. So if you put it in here, it won't really lose its nutritional value because the nutrients of the broccoli are going to go right back in the soup. So let that boil a little bit. Last but not least is hot pepper powder. Again, for sanitary reasons, you want to use a clean spoon. Don't mix raw meat with pepper. And this which you can use to spice it up. Take a look. It's very coarse crystals here. You think that it may not dissolve, but it actually does dissolve in the soup. Be very careful when adding it. Now that you have everything in, you want to taste it to your fitting. So if you like it spicier, add a little bit, taste it. Just don't go crazy in adding it, because once you do that, you need to add more water, and then it dilutes your soup. And you get into this hideous cycle of adding water, adding pepper. So do a little bit of time. And then when it tastes good enough, all you do is get a serving bowl. And just scoop it out. So, this is a very quick meal. This is very nutritious because you have a broth, you have vegetables, you have tofu, and you have a mushroom, and you're going to have a little bit of rice with it. So try this out. I think this took less than 10 minutes. All you have to do is, for your tofu and the tofu broth seasoning, you need to go to your Asian market. That's the key to this entire ingredient. So go to your local Ranch 99, Vietnamese, Chinese, or Korean. You'll have it there. It's only about $1.50 and $1 for the tofu pack, so this entire meal is really cheap. Lasts you a couple of days and tastes pretty good. Now go ahead, try it at home.